2, 1, action.
It is always easier to understand your life whenever you can look at somebody else's and go, oh, they were here. Now they're there. I think I could be here and then get there someday. And so that's what we're going to do today. Hey guys, I'm Rebecca and this is Davie, and we run the Divorce Hub. So today, what we're going to do is read some messages that we've gotten from people in our life, friends, families, clients who are going through a divorce. And some of the stuff that they've shared with us, we're like, oh my gosh, that would resonate with other people who are in a similar situation. And so we're going to read the text messages and kind of banter back and forth about how it feels to be in those shoes. So
Yeah, I think this has been really cool to have this platform where we're open to just get these messages. A lot of these messages aren't even people that we know. A couple of them
Yeah.
are, but it is proof that there are not enough resources out there, and that we can actually help some people by listening to them. So one of the first messages that I received was from somebody who did know me from a past life. And this person said, "Hey, Davie, saw your post. I had a business partner issue several years ago and exited my company, truly heartbreaking. And ever since, my relationship with my wife has been a challenge, to say the very least. Very worried that I will lose that as well. I get where you're coming from and I hope for the best. Give me a shout if you ever want to reconnect." And I think that is obviously a way for a man to weave in that I need help, but not fully commit to
okay,
it.
yeah. So I want you to dig into that a little bit because I know this whole story and the mess that's behind this little message is like literally the tip of an iceberg for something underneath that had been like brewing for years, and a big nasty affair, and it just got really gross under the water. But the front one, he's like, I'm a little worried I might lose my wife. And this is something that you've shared with me a lot about when men reach out. It's like they've wanted to reach out about 1,000 times before.
Yeah.
To just drop one little hint that something might not be okay. So talk about that, what it means for a man to send a tiny clue like that.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's specifically related to, I don't want to have to need help, right? Because if I'm a man and I need help, I must be weak or broken or not a man.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I talk to my buddies or other men, maybe they're not my buddy, but somebody I met or somebody I see, we almost know in a way, like this is kind of guy code in a way. It's woven into guy code. We know I know what that even means.
Right. Yeah. You read that. I'm like, okay, well, he might lose his wife. I guess
No,
maybe
no,
his
no.
wife liked that his business. He liked the business. No, she doesn't like the business. It's not how girls talk.
And I knew that he did almost like how you have to do in corporate America, a compliment sandwich. Something not my divorce, something else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost understood guy code that that's about as close as what is socially acceptable for a man to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
So it was hard. It was nice to get it, but it's heartbreaking even to read it, because it's somebody that they want the help, but they don't.
Right. Well, it's, and we talked about this a little bit. That level coming from a guy is the same thing as if a girl was like, I had a really tough weekend because my husband and I fought all weekend and he slept on the couch and I'm feeling like I'm about to get a divorce. Like a woman would be that forward, and just that little tip of the iceberg. That's what you heard him say all underneath. I'm really hurting. This is sad. I'm in a bad spot, and work's bad too. So
Yeah. And you know what? Another message I just thought of validates that same point. And it was from the next man who reached out to me. And this man said, "Hey," he basically said the first few messages, "Hey, do we know each other from some insurance circles or professional?" And we kind of bantered back and forth. And then even before we confirmed where we knew each other, next message, "I stumbled across your name regarding a divorce meetup. Thought it sounded familiar, going back to my name."
mm-hmm.
You see how he volunteered? "I stumbled across your name regarding a divorce meetup."
Oh.
Switched immediately back to your name, your connection, our business, our networking.
Mm-hmm.
See that?
He barely said, I saw it with this connection. Yeah, for me, I'm like, that literally doesn't mean anything at all. But
"I stumbled across your
crazy.
name regarding a divorce meetup" is
I see.
a little bit of a tiny white flag. But if I were to be a jerk and I'd be like, "Oh, divorce meetup, you're weak. You're whatever," or not address it, then doesn't have the emotional exposure.
So did you come back and mention something about divorce?
Oh yeah, we've messaged each other since and whatever else, because I saw that as a red flag, or as a call for help.
If somebody's watching this and they're a man and they're like, well, I haven't ever even thought to reach out to somebody, ask for help, I'm just watching these videos online, like what would you say to that person?
Start somewhere, and somewhere doesn't have to be a message. Somewhere doesn't have to be an email. Somewhere doesn't have to be a phone call. Just start finding resources. Algorithmically, once you start searching for divorce help, you're going to get bombarded with divorce help, and hopefully our stuff comes up then. But you have to start even engaging with social media or reading books or doing any sort of like bibliotherapy where you connect with something that doesn't make you feel crazy or weak.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts a validation cycle where, okay, now I'm not alone. And so from that point, then maybe after being validated through social media, whatever, then you find the courage to reach out. And they're going to reach out in a veiled way, just like this. Start with the professional connection. So what I'd say to other men is, once you find an account or some resources or whatever that can be a safe space for you to reach out and not get called out, run towards that fire exit as much as you can. Because even regardless of what happens, these men out there are hurting and they don't have anywhere to go. I mean, there's not good resources for this for women, but it's even the worst for the men sometimes in asking for help with your relationship. So you just got to start consuming something: therapy, counselors, social media content, read. There's so much out there that we hope that we're going to get to people.
Okay, talk about the difference for you in complaining to your friends about a crappy wife versus going to look for help. How are they similar? How are they different for a man?
I have a little bit of a pet peeve, as you know, and I'm sure you prompted me on this intentionally. So I think sometimes I could make the argument that saying bad things about your partner to your friends is as bad as an actual act of infidelity. I could make that argument, right?
You've explained that from a man's point of view.
Right. From my perspective, the tough challenge of being a man is, again, we're not supposed to ask for help. We're just not supposed to do that. And I just think it's incumbent upon both people in the relationship to deal with the problems inside the relationship. And if you can say things to your friends but not your partner, they're not your partner. Your friends are more your partner in terms of your emotional partner, or you're somebody you can relate to. So,
well, you gave a really interesting example at one point to me that I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? Because I haven't held friendships in my life, even when my marriage was bad, that we would just sit and complain about our husbands. That wasn't company that I kept. But you had a different experience where not necessarily your ex-wife, but her friends would sit around and complain about their exes. And you told me one specific story that you said you got really emotional about. It was like a wife that complained that she had to pack her husband's lunch.
Right.
But then she also complained that he never packed his lunch. Like, she was getting up, packing his lunch for him, and then going to her friends and complaining that he never packed his own lunch.
Yes.
And you were like, what?
Right.
Tell the man to pack his own lunch if you don't want to pack it.
Said nothing internally. And there's this weird thing, because if that person, that spouse is genuinely mad, right? They're packing that resentment.
Mm-hmm.
But what could be equally as damaging and bad for the relationship is if she's not mad, she's just trying to have gossip with her friends.
Right. Okay, so now explain the difference in just gossiping with your friends from a man's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting around with guys, or is it the same? Because if a man asks for help, even in a circle of friends, that's received differently. That's what I'm trying to understand from a man's point of view.
Yeah, I think that groups of men, let's call it, you're the husbands of the girls who get together.
Okay.
Right? Those groups of men understand, tragically sometimes, that the ladies get together and they don't say nice things about us. So what the men,
so sad.
In these men, and there's gonna be groups of men that think that if there's anybody that watches this, they're gonna be like, yeah, that's exactly how we act. The men coalesce together almost like as inmates in the prison. And they're like, hey, you know what? When we hang out, we're just going to be cool with everybody because we're probably not really supported over in the other group. So that it's got a weird way of almost kind of forming like a trauma bond, if you will, where it's like, hey, and this is the reality. This is why half the population gets divorced, is because these terrible relationship patterns develop unchecked, and everybody just ends up, when they're in their retirement phase, sleeping in different bedrooms.
Wow.
And that's how these things, they manifest, and they don't get addressed. And
what a very interesting
that's just how these male brains work. It's, hey man, you're in the same boat. We're just gonna have each other's back.
So now, as a man who's good at asking for help, and you are widely abreast of therapy techniques, like, what does that mean for you as a man now? Is it still hard to ask for help, or how's it feel on the other side?
Yeah, it's always, the experience of being a man and a woman is uniquely different, and equally different types of challenges. So whenever I talk about the challenges of being a man, it's not to completely miss the unique challenges of being a woman. The unique challenges of being a man are that all of your idols, the people that you were told to look up to, the people that you were told to model yourself after, are often represented with toughness.
Sure.
Toughness and bravado and independence and strength. And none of those things is synonymous with asking for help.
Yeah, right. I see that.
So from an early age, before even a relationship enters a boy's purview, there's already pressure to stand up, protect, insert yourself, take a bullet, all those things. And so it's tough. It's tough later on down the road, when you're in the depths and despair of a divorce, to be the one. Men are so, you actually said this earlier tonight. You said women are so afraid to let a man down. Men are so afraid to look weak to their partner or to the outside world.
So when you ask for help now, does it feel scary? Does it feel bad? Does it still feel like you're doing something you shouldn't be?
A little bit. Every time. It's less than it's ever been, because I know what I know about the world is that the world's not going to think like I do. They're not going to know what I know. They're not going to think what I think. So if I don't go out and communicate what I want and ask for what I want, I'm not going to get it. I have to be able to say, no, I do want that, or I don't want that. And no one else can know that unless it comes out of my mouth. So now it's not as scary, because it's more pragmatically a thing you have to do to survive.
Right.
But it will always be scary for a man to ask for help to some degree.
Well, then I want to talk to any of the men who might be watching this channel and let you know that if you have a woman in your life who actually loves you, and I don't care if this is a sister or a friend or a girlfriend or a wife, whatever, if you have someone in your life who actually loves you, and you go to them and you say, hey, I'm really hurting, I need help, that woman is going to listen, because they care about you, and they're not going to judge you, and not going to think you're weak or you're stupid or you're a failure. They're genuinely going to care and to be there to support you. And I would hope that you have men in your life that are that same way too. But whereas a man feels like they're going to be portrayed a different way, it doesn't look that way to a woman. And matter of fact, the times that Davie and I have sat down and he's been like crying emotionally over whatever hard thing we're trying to conquer together is the time that I lean in and listen the most, because I do respect that somebody can be present with their emotions. And I think that most women would feel that same way. So maybe that's a good encouragement to kind of end this episode on, of you got to ask for help, and that's okay.
Well, that same example of the men that coalesce around each other and have each other's back. If one person in that group would lead and say, you know what, guys, I actually do see a counselor and it's been great for me.
Mm-hmm.
Or you know what, Susie and I, we are seeing a marriage counselor, and because we're committed to trying to stay married, you guys know there's been some challenges. And those miniature ask for help would interrupt the pattern of all the things that everybody really wants to get along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nobody wants to go through all
one person
awful
has
stuff.
to lead and say, hey, we're men and we need help too.
That's good. We're men and we need help too.